Google, Microsoft, Mercedes, Toyota. I run vendor machines at stations, train stations, bus stations. So discuss this divorce early before you marry, actually.
Welcome back. I hope you're ready for some business law because we definitely are. Have you wondered how small businesses can collaborate and make very big businesses? That's what we're going to talk about today, and we're going to talk about joint venture. That's also a word you might have heard before, but today we're going to dig deep into that one. I hope you're ready, because if you're ready to level up, subscribe and like our channel and share it with your network, because this is going to be really good. Hang in there. Kat, welcome. Let's go as usual.
And I'm going to say that we're also going to give you very practical tools and a checklist for what you need to think about, because we often see people doing a great job explaining what it is, but not as much how to go about.
Exactly. We want to dive deep and make it concrete.
Yeah, so you can have use of this.
Perfect. And remember, this is not legal advice, it's knowledge sharing. And this episode is also powered by LE Fitness, which we are very happy about. Stick around, because now we're going.
Well, and a joint venture, first and foremost, know that it's an extremely broad term.
Yeah, I'm
very, very broad term. And it can be a corporate structure or a contractual structure. And we're going to talk about the serious one I was about to say, but the corporate structure. And we're going to talk about why that's so brilliant. And I love the introduction you did, because often you think of joint venture as Google, Microsoft, and Mercedes, or Toyota doing something big with Samsung or whatever. And it doesn't have to be. It's an extremely smart way of doing something different, dipping your water into new grounds, so to speak, and trying to be bigger, smarter, risk share, minimize your risk, or gaining access to resources, competence, markets that you do not have. So even if you run a coffee shop or you're a super early startup, understanding how you can use joint ventures can be a key to success for you.
A really good strategy.
Yeah, so you can be tiny and still use it full on.
Great. So where do we start? What do you first thing you need to know about the joint venture?
Well, we have two things that typically are. I'm not going to be a lawyer saying typically on everything. that are significant. There are independent parties. So we're not talking about the merger and acquisition or anything like that. Independent parties with a joint and rather specific goal that they want to achieve together. So let's say that you have a hot dog factory.
Yeah.
And you have restaurants all over LA. That's your core business. I run vendor machines at stations, train stations, bus stations, airports, etc. That's my core business. You and I get to talking about, wouldn't it be cool if we could invent some kind of vendor machine that could cook the hot dogs, so you could get hot dogs that are sanitary also, right?
Yeah, that would be a great idea.
Yeah, but that's not your typical business, right? And it's not my typical business. And it might be risky. So if we put it in a corporation, a separate legal entity, then we, limited liability. That means that the owners of any corporate entity are not liable for the debt or the obligations, the liabilities of the corporation. That means that if we set up a separate structure for this, then your Ida's Hot Dog LLC and Kat's Vendor Machines LLC will not be held liable for what that corporation does. So that's one up. Then you risk share and you limit the risk to that joint venture instead of having it directly messing with your core business, so to speak. Okay. So if it doesn't work out, it won't directly impact your obligations as the owner.
Okay, that's very smart.
Very, very good. That's what I'm saying. And it's not costly to set up a corporation today. So even if you run a small coffee shop, it is you are able to ring fence by setting up a corporation when you do a collaboration with somebody else. And that's a very specific purpose. And typically they are limited in time, or they are for a specific project. It can also be that you and I are going to renovate a house together. So we set up a corporation that procures and that administrates and that assigns the contracts for that project.
So it's limited in time. It's
Typically,
important.
in
Okay.
time or reaching that goal, developing a new product, entering a new market, something.
Okay. But then do these two company write contracts with each other, or is it like locked in the structure?
So number two, no, or we can actually start. We have a checklist of 4, what you need to think about to make this work. Because it's not as easy as just saying, let's jump in the water together.
No, okay.
Yeah.
That's good to know.
Yeah. So I would say number 1, contribution. Before you start, when you find that buddy of yours and you have this crazy, amazing idea that you can do something together and gain a profit or whatever the goal is. Well, what is the contribution? What will I contribute? Will it be my IP, or will it be my physical presence? Because I had vendor machines in each train station. So that might be my contribution. And I might have service operators that go out and take care of the vendor machines. So I have that knowledge and that network. I have presence in the train stations. If I contribute that, what will you contribute?
Yes, maybe the hot dogs or something.
Exactly. You have the factories to manufacture them. You have the brand, the hot brand that everybody wants to eat the hot dogs from. I mean, everybody wants to eat a hot dog, right?
Of course.
Yeah. So that's your contribution, the brand and the ability to produce hot, nice tasting hot dogs. And then we need to ensure is the contribution equal to begin with, right? But also ongoingly, because a big problem with joint ventures that you run into quickly will be frustration, that you feel that I might be a global player and I might lose interest in the hot dogs and not pay too much attention while you're putting all of your resources, all of the best employees in LA and doing advertising and pumping in to this new venture. So you need to discuss and try to put pen on paper on what the contribution is from each party. And if you're contributing your brand or your IP or technology, make sure that the contract says that any IP, brand, etc., that you bring to the table will always remain yours. And I have no right to use it without your prior written consent. Super important. So you don't lose your core business in any way.
That's really good.
Yeah. So number 1, contribution. Define clearly expectations and what each party brings to the table. Number 2, control. And that was what you were going for.
Yes, exactly.
How do you decide?
Yes.
And a typical shareholders agreement will often not be appropriate. You will need to address the same type of questions. But in this case, you have to expect that both parties will want to participate because it is a collaboration. So you might not have the ability to just run over the other party. So at the same time, you do not want every single decision to have to go from the joint venture up to your board of directors and my board of directors. Then you'll get nowhere. So discuss how the decision will be made. Sometimes you say that it will be 50-50 owned, but any decisions within the set business plan will be made by the organization or by the board of directors. Every other year you appoint 1 and the chairman. Every other year I appoint 1 and the chairman, in total 3. That can be a solution, etc. But discuss and expect that there is a need for you to communicate well with each other ongoingly.
Yes, as we always say, be transparent.
Be transparent, communicate, and be clear about it in advance so you're not completely frustrated because every decision you have to try to, it won't work. You're getting nowhere. Yeah, in particular if you're a minor player and you're doing a joint venture with a bigger player. That can be extremely frustrating for you.
Okay.
Yeah. And number 3, co-ownership. Is that intended? What's the plan?
Yeah.
Because imagine that we actually developed this incredible new vending machine with technology that we can patent, protect, that actually can do sanitary hot dogs live without any personnel, anything else. They just pop out with ketchup and mustard.
Everything you want.
Everything you want. I mean, who should own it? Okay, so we have joint ownership over the joint venture, but if one of us wants out or when we're going to liquidate it, what's the plan?
How do you do that?
So it can be that one of us has a stronger interest than the other. So you can have a buy option. I have an option to buy you out. And then you have to talk about the valuation, etc. It can be that we both bid on the IP. And then the one that bids the highest wins. But the other one will have a right to royalty-free license the IP forever. That can be a solution. We can have a gunshot provision. Which is if I want out, I name the value, I evaluate the shares in the joint venture corporation. And then you get to decide whether you want to buy or sell. So we trigger it that way. And it can be a mandatory liquidation after 5 years unless the parties agree otherwise. But then again, what do you do with the IP or any other assets?
But if one party is bought out, is it still a joint venture?
No.
No.
Then we liquidate the joint venture.
Okay.
So either you own the corporation still or you buy the assets and we just dismantle.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And that was actually number 4.
That was number 4.
Number 4 is closing down. So how do you take care of that? How do you move forward? If somebody wants out or if both want out, if it doesn't work out. And apart from what we talked about with IP assets, defining the terms, you might not have to decide who gets what, but how you will decide who gets what. Like I said, a gunshot provision, for example. And you should also have some kind of right of first refusal, control if something happens. Well, other than that, also closing down and ongoingly, what about the revenue streams if it goes well? You might feel that we should reinvest them in the joint venture so we can go to Europe with it and grow. Because, I mean, it's your brand. You love this. It helps your ordinary business as well. I might feel, no, I want distribution. I want cash in hand. So also try to discuss that and as much as possible, regulate when you start a joint venture. Much easier when you're both excited and you both have the negotiation possibility without already being married. So discuss the divorce early before you marry, actually.
But that's really good because what I hear from you, you need an idea, but you also need a plan from start to finish.
Yeah.
Because it's like a time frame for it.
Yeah. And this time we took this crazy idea about inventing something. But it can be that you have this hot dog restaurants in the US and you want to gain access to Sweden. And you feel that it will cost you so much, you know nothing about Sweden, it will be time and risky. And then you know me, and you know I'm a real estate owner in Sweden. And you turn to me and say, do you know what, you want to do a joint venture? Starbucks did this in China. And then we can just, you can enter a new market, but without risking too much of your own capital, your own exposure, and getting competence or resources or something that you do not have through me. So it can be many, many, many different ways. You see a joint venture as the optimal, or you just want the finance. Somebody else has deep pockets, and you have a great brand or a great idea or great resources and energy. You merge and do the joint venture. Can also be a better way if you cannot get an investor to your company. They might be willing to jump in with a joint venture instead. So it's a super, super flexible and exciting way to evolve and develop. And also, if it goes really bad, it doesn't have to affect your ordinary operations in the same way as if it was you carrying the business on your own, within your own corporation, because we ring-fenced it.
Yes, that minimizing the risk.
Yeah.
Is it why most companies do that, use that as a strategy?
Yes, I would say ring fencing, absolutely. But, of course, that has its limitations as well.
Yes.
Because if I was a bank and you came with me and said, you know what, Kat and I, that we have a joint venture here, and in my ordinary company, I have 20 million in assets and you have 35 million in assets, but we set up this joint venture. It has 0 in assets and we'll take the bank loan for 25 million here. Yes, we're safe. We're safe. We're ring fenced. So if it goes belly up, we don't have to pay the 25 million. Of course, the bank will do the due diligence, the credit worthiness, and they will say, oh, brilliant. But I want you all 3 to sign for that bank loan. So, I mean, it has its limitations. People are not dumb. So, so expect that. But other than that, yes, it does. I would say number 1 is that it creates the synergies. Because you can tap into resources that you don't have in some way. So that's the brilliance of it.
Yeah, like great opportunities.
Yeah, that you might not be able to pull off on your own, or you might not want to put that much money and resources into. So that's number 1. And number 2 is the ring fencing.
Is there anything other you need to think of when it comes to joint venture? I mean, we could talk about this forever.
Yeah, no, I would say those 4. The, contribution, control, is the co-ownership, and closing down. So 4 C's. Go through them in your own head and then go through them with your partner and put it in writing.
Yeah, as always, the devil is in the details.
Yeah, indeed.
And now you know about joint venture, and Kat presented 4 good steps that you can have. Think of before you join the joint venture. Now you have one more tool in your business law toolbox, which we are very happy to share. And remember, this is not legal advice, it's knowledge sharing. And if you want to keep up the big muscles when it comes to business, like and subscribe our channel, because we're going to keep doing this and share a lot of things you need to know.
And if you've seen other joint ventures, you tried it yourself, you see crazy, good, bad, drop it down below. We would love to pick that up.
Yeah, share your experiences and questions. That would be so good.
Fantastic.
Until next time, we are also powered by the LA Fitness, by the way.
Hej då!
Hej då!
Hej då!